Every day the son-in-law consumed a considerable amount of whiskey, which he bought at a low price from his mother-in-law, who lived on the outskirts of the village. He usually borrowed the whiskey and repaid the debt at the end of the month. This time, however, the son-in-law decided to visit his mother-in-law, Mary. He wanted to drink to honor the memory of his late parents, who had tragically died in a car accident a little over a year ago.
Since then, the son-in-law began drinking heavily.
His wife could not intervene or take any action to remedy the situation.
Mary, the mother-in-law, lived alone.
She was a slightly overweight woman who, despite her age, had a pleasant appearance.
All her life she had worked as a milkmaid in the village, and recently retired and now sold homemade alcohol.
When her son-in-law once again visited Maria's house, she resolutely refused to buy him alcohol, saying that he already owed her 3 liters. However, the son-in-law assured her that he would soon repay the debt because he had taken a part-time job that would allow him to do so within 2 days.
He also promised to forgive her debt.
Hearing this, the mother-in-law's eyes lit up with hope. Curious, her son-in-law asked what tasks he needed to do to repay the debt.
Maria simply replied, "What do you care? Chop wood, and you fetch water. And later I'll buy you dinner and pour whiskey in a glass.
Will you come?"
"All right, I will come," replied the son-in-law and left. In the evening the son-in-law returned to his mother-in-law's house, where he was welcomed. He brought water, chopped wood, and they sat down to dinner together, during which the son-in-law enjoyed the meal. His mother-in-law sat beside him at the table and asked him about his life.
After dinner Maria asked him to fix the iron. The young man settled on the floor and began to disassemble the iron, while Mary sat at the table and sipped homemade wine.
Of course, she remembered to pour some for her son-in-law.
As soon as the son-in-law fixed the iron, the mother-in-law retired to her room. When she came out, the son-in-law was stunned. In front of him stood his mother-in-law, dressed in a beautiful robe, with a mischievous gleam in her eyes. She stared at him intently. In his state of intoxication, he began to realize the true purpose of summoning his mother-in-law. He realized that he had not yet completed all the tasks assigned to him, and his mother-in-law had not just offered to forgive his debts. The mother-in-law smiled understandingly and approached the young man.
At first he believed it was a dream, but quickly realized that it was not. From this moment and the story of their love began. From that moment, the son-in-law was not lost and often visited his mother-in-law. He helped, so to speak, in the household. The mother-in-law expressed her gratitude and poured her favorite son-in-law a shot. That's how they live, supporting each other. It was the same with my mother-in-law.